Good morning, everyone. Well, a strong cold front is going to be working across the state this afternoon and through the evening hours, and it's going to be bringing us a good chance of rain and possibly a few severe storms as well. But it's good news for the morning commute. Check out 8 a.m. The vast majority of us are going to be dry. The only place I have to mention some isolated showers is in the far northwestern part of the state, but from Chippewa Falls down to the south and east, looking good. In fact, it's still mostly good news even at 11 a.m. Now, by this point, I think we'll start to see some more showers pop up in the western part of the state, but the central and eastern part of the state still dry. And look at the pleasant temperatures, too, at 11 a.m. Okay, right now, look at mid to upper 60s. In fact, some low 70s already starting to show up in southern Wisconsin. Now, what we're also going to see around lunchtime is the winds picking up. Across the northern half of the state, we're going to call it a breezy afternoon with gusts 20-25 miles per hour. But for southern Wisconsin, got to call it windy with gusts 30-35 miles per hour. Now let's jump ahead to 2 o'clock because it's about 2 o'clock when I think we could start to see the first thunderstorms pop up. And the problem is that any of the storms that do pop up have the potential for being on the stronger side. Now, most will not. That does not mean that all of the storms are going to be severe, far from it. But the potential is there. There are just enough ingredients where we could see a couple of storms overachieve. I do think that could happen in a few places, beginning as early as 2 o'clock. But notice, at 2 o'clock, still doing good temperature-wise. Could we see some mid-70s in southern Wisconsin today? I do think that's a possibility. We're talking about setting new record highs in southern Wisconsin, just remarkably warm. But notice even at 2 o'clock in Chippewa Falls, 66. But if you look over in Minnesota, there's the cold front, 53 in Minneapolis, 47 in Mankato. Now, also what we're going to see is probably 2 lines of showers and storms. So it looks like there's going to be activity ahead of the cold front and then additional activity along the front itself. And that's what you're seeing in that line just to the west of Chippewa Falls. That's the actual cold front, but I do expect activity ahead of it as well. And I do think there are going to be showers and storms in both areas of activity and the potential for severe storms in both areas of activity. So the severe threat isn't over for you until the cold front clears you and your temperatures drop, and then that'll be it for the severe threat. So the severe threat beginning, particularly in the western part of the state, around 2 o'clock this afternoon. Let's jump ahead to 5 o'clock, and this is probably the best chance for the central part of the state. By 5 o'clock, the severe threat is over in La Crosse, Chippewa Falls, because look at temperatures in the 50s. But notice in Madison is still sitting around 69 degrees. And this will probably be when that first line of activity is going to be working over us, and there could be some severe storms in that line, and then still a potential right along the front for a couple of severe storms. But again, not widespread. We're not talking about a solid line of severe storms. That's not what we're expecting this time. But do have to mention that there are those ingredients there for that we could get a couple of stronger storms. By the time we get to 8 o'clock, though, look how the temperature dropping in Madison down to 60 degrees. And then look at Chippewa Falls, 39, La Crosse, 45. And notice that we're not seeing as much of the orange showing up. So that front is still going to be trying to move to the east. But actually, it looks like there's going to be a period where it's going to stall out. And when it stalls out and our temperatures start to cool in the eastern part of the state, that's going to be bringing an end to the severe threat. So for the most eastern part of the state, I'm actually not worried about severe storms at all. I do think if we're going to see severe storms, it's going to be in the central and western part of the state, and I do think a lot of us will not be seeing severe storms. Also, by the time the sun sets, it won't be windy anymore across southern Wisconsin, but it's still going to be breezy across the entire state, gusts 20-25 miles per hour. And here's what I'm talking about, the front stalling out, because check out 11 o'clock. Now, we're not going to be seeing any thunderstorms at this point, because look at all these chilly temperatures. But I still think a lot of rain, particularly across southern Wisconsin, but also up to the north and east. But Chippewa Falls, La Crosse, looking dry. Now, beginning around 11 o'clock, this is just a very temporary stall in the front. The front is going to start moving east again. So we're going to skip a whole lot of time. But notice how that activity is slowly moving to the east. And you see a little bit of purple and blue showing up. Could at the very last minute, as that line is pushing east, you see a little bit of a rain-snow mix, a few flakes of snow coming down. That's a possibility because look at these temperatures. 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, I think everyone is dry, which is good news for the Friday morning commute. But look at these temperatures. 27 at 8 a.m. Friday morning in Chippewa Falls, 31 in Madison, the warm spot, Kenosha, at 41. But keep in mind, breezy for everyone, so it is not going to be feeling this warm. Take about 5 degrees off these temperatures, and that's what you need to be prepared for when you head out the door on Friday morning. So the severe threat is for the central and western part of the state. Notice Milwaukee, we're seeing Kenosha not included in this marginal risk. And I do want to stress this is the marginal risk level 1 out of 5. So that means we're not talking about widespread severe storms. In fact, with those 2 lines of showers and storms that I talked about, what most of us are going to see is just some heavy rain and lightning. I do think that's going to be common. A lot of folks will see that. But I don't think a lot of folks are going to see a worst case scenario, which this time around would be in a few spots. We could see wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, and in a few spots, perhaps up to dime-sized hail. I think that's the biggest hail that we would be seeing. It is a possibility for everywhere that's shaded in green on this map. It does not mean it is a guarantee. It is just a possibility from 2 o'clock this afternoon until 8 o'clock this evening.